Hi everyone, it's Sam. Welcome. So today I thought I'd come on here and just do a little bit of a wrist exercise, so a bit of strength and mobility for the wrist. So it's something that I seem to get asked a lot, either in class or after class. Something that a lot of people ask, how will we, how do I go about strengthening through the wrist, finding a little bit more comfort in the practice. So it's something that I'm gonna give you a couple of drills that I use. So I don't do them all every single time I practice, but I always warm up my wrists quite thoroughly before I practice, especially if I'm working on any arm balances or any inversions such as handstands. It's something that I always make sure I do to avoid injury. So yeah, it's not going to be a flow, just going to be a few series of drills. So we'll start in a comfortable kneeling position, taking any modifications that you need, and then placing your hands together here in prayer, opening the elbows out wide. I'm just going to start to ground down a little bit before we move into the drills. Maybe closing down the eyes here. As you do this, I want you to start to find that energy through your hands. So pushing the palms of the hands together now. Finding that engagement. So I want to build a little bit of heat into the wrists, into the upper body before we get them moving a little bit. Stay nice and controlled with your inhales and exhales through the nose. Allowing yourself to be present. Allowing yourself to notice sensations when they arise, what feels good for you. Take 2 more breaths here. Drawing inwards, keeping that connection to the hands. And then softly blinking, open the eyes, release the hands, maybe shaking them out a little bit. So warming up the wrists, so taking the left hand out long, so I want your fingertips to point down, maybe there's a little bit of space in between each of the fingers and thumbs. Then take your right hand and we're just going to work on gently bringing back each of the fingers and thumbs for a couple seconds each. So starting with the little finger and just drawing it back. Again, breathing into the space. And taking the next finger. The middle finger. Again, feeling a nice releasing sensation as we do this. The pointer finger. Maybe reaching all the way around, holding on to the thumb. Really spread out through the fingers as you allow your hand to just draw it back. Again, this can be really soft here. Nice, and just give it a little shake out. And we'll do the same on the other side. So taking the right hand out this time. Fingertips pointing down, spreading wide, in line with the shoulder. And taking the left hand and starting to draw the pinky back. The next finger. The middle finger. Again, you might feel a difference between each hand here as well. The pointer finger. And reaching all the way around for that thumb, spreading wide through the fingertips, and just a real gentle draw back of the thumb here. Nice, and then shaking them out here. Another one I like to do is interlacing the hands and just give your wrist a little bit of a roll here. So sometimes I do this in amongst my class, my practice, when it feels a little bit tight on the wrist, it's getting a bit sticky. Just take some time to do this if it feels necessary. Maybe opening out the arms, doing some disco waves, because you know, you've got great dance moves and wrist mobility. What more could you want? So you want to feel like the wrist is moving up and down here, and then try and reverse it, which might take a little bit more brain coordination. Nice. Cool, and coming back here. And taking your arms out in line with the shoulders, and just taking your hand into fist with the thumbs outside of the fingers. Really simple, just taking your hand into fist and then starting to do some rotations here. So this should feel like quite a deep stretch in the back of the hand. So take it as small as you need. Maybe you can loosen the grip if it feels a bit much. And then reverse the circles. Nice. And really simple but really effective way to open up the wrists. Nice, and again, shake it out, do what you need to do. The next one is actually something I learned on my teacher training. A teacher called Alan Elman taught, and it's amazing. He's really good, you should check him out if you can. And it's one that stays with me, mainly because of the visuals. So again, we start to take the left hand into a fist. We take the right hand and we use the thumb and the first finger to find where the wrist is connected to the hand. There's a little gap, so you firstly want to find this. Then start to take a hold of that gap and draw, keeping your hand in a fist, drawing away. So you're finding a bit of a release here. And again, taking some circles. So he says that this is like E.T.'s head. It's definitely something that you won't forget in your practice. Nice. And then circling it back the other way. Again, you might notice a few clicks, a little bit of sound here. It's releasing into that tension. Nice, shake it off and then take it on the other side. So fist at the right hand and finding where that little space is in between the wrists. So you should feel it. Maybe take a little bit of time to familiarise yourself with it before taking this. Squeezing the hand and take the thumb and the first finger around the wrist, draw it down, and then taking these circles with E.T.'s head. Breathing here. Again, this can be as slow, as fast as you need it to be. I would recommend it start slower as you're kind of getting into things here. You can do all these exercises for a lot longer. I'm just going to run through some different ones that might feel good for you. Again, shaking out. And starting to come into your tabletop position now. So talking a little bit on hand placement as well. So often when you maybe first start out yoga, you can have your hands quite close together and you can end up dumping a lot of weight into your wrists, which over time, it might not feel too bad at first, but over time your wrists will start to feel that strain and it'll maybe most likely end up with injury in your practice. So we want to work on finding that hasta bandha. So that's our hand engagement to the mat. So something that I always try and drill in to my flows, to my practice. So again, finding your tabletop position here. So you want to stack your shoulders on top of the wrists, hips on top of the knees. You want to spread those fingers out really, really wide here. So this already gives you a larger surface area to protect the wrist. Then from here, we're not again just dumping into the wrist. We don't want to put all our energy into the back of the wrists. So the main engagement here is we're really looking at gluing down this space between the thumb and the first finger into the mat. The central area of the palm has very little to no weight in it, so you almost want to feel like a suction is drawing up here, and then here you've still got a little bit of weight grounding down, especially to the outside of the hand. So maybe go ahead and try and have a little bit of a feel for that now. So pushing down in between the thumbs and the first fingers so it's glued down to the mat. If you want to, I mean, everybody has their own little things, the little tweaks to find comfort in their practice. You might draw those 3 knuckles towards the end of the hands in a little bit. That helps me, but again, completely up to you. And feel like you can squeeze the hands in here, pushing down to allow suction in the center of the palm. So this is your hasta bandha, and something that I really want you to focus on maybe the next time you're flowing, to really look for that engagement. Okay, so in our tabletop, starting to take a few circles here. So circling the shoulders over the wrists. Again, this can be as gentle as you need it to be here. Breathe in here. And then reverse the direction. You might want to keep a little bit of a bend in your elbows here as well. This helps to create a little bit of buoyancy, especially if you have a tendency to lock your elbows out like myself. And come back to center. Turn your fingertips to face either side of the mat. And you can go ahead and start to shift your weight from side to side here. So again, maybe keeping a little bend. You might want to bend into the elbows a little bit more so you can maybe start to feel that nice stretch through your forearm. And then 2 options here. So you can either turn your fingertips all the way around to face your knees, maybe drawing your knees in a little bit here, tucking the toes under, just to get a bit more stability. It can be quite a deep stretch. First option, if this feels too much for you, sitting back onto the heels and taking, quite similar like we did at the start of the practice, taking one and taking the other. So just using the opposite hand to draw the fingertips back. Otherwise, staying here. Again, this might be enough, maybe tiny gentle bend in the elbows, tucking under the toes for stability, maybe start to rock gently forward and back. So this can feel like a really deep stretch in the forearm down through the wrist, especially if we're used to being on our phone a lot, being on computers all day. This can be a really deep stretch, but really welcomed. Nice, take it all the way back so your palms are facing, your fingertips are facing back to the front of the mat. Then taking the back of the right hand down, spread your fingertips really wide and just pushing the hands, the fingertips all the way down. So not just dumping into the top of the palm here. We want to spread wide through the fingertips to allow that space to create all the way down through the back of the hand. Nice, take it on the other side. You should be feeling the stretch on the top of the outside of the wrist, so along here. Nice, release it, sit back and shake out the wrist. Do anything again that you need to do. You should start to feel a little bit of heat in the wrist. If it gets too much, then just take whatever you want. You might want to try a different exercise each time you come back to this, so just take what feels right for you. A nice one here is drawing the backs of the hands together. Keep the wrists connected. So start to draw the fingertips in towards you and the arms open out to meet, and then circle them that down. So you have back of the wrists, front of the wrist, back of the wrist. Nice, and taking these circles and then reversing the direction. Cool. Again, shaking out any little tension that you need. Okay, so building heat now into the wrist. So this exercise is also really simple, but it's really great for building some strength and some heat into the body. So taking your arms out in front of you, you want to clench your fists again, and then you want to flick the hands. So it's like you're flicking water off your fingertips. So flick, clench, and clench. Yes. and maybe you can start to increase that. And maybe you can go even faster, take what feels right for you. Maybe you can add the arms over the head. Nice. Maybe you can take them out to the side. Stay with me. Those forearms should be feeling nice and spicy. Take it back. Nice, and release, relax it out. Simple movement but builds a lot of heat, a lot of strength. One final thing to touch on is also modifications in your practice. So if as well, obviously sticking with the wrist warm-ups before each practice as well, I would always recommend. But if you have some really serious wrist injury as well and you want to look for a way to modify this for when you're taking your poses, then there's two options that I would take. So the first one being your fists. So taking your fist, so we're taking that hold of the fist again, thumb to the outside of the fist, and taking them in line with your shoulders. So when we're using our fists, we still want to make sure we've got that one long line of energy stacking all the way down. So making sure that our weight is going all the way down into the mat. Someone taught me, I can't remember the teacher who taught me this, but it was wrist to kiss. So making sure that when you're taking your fists, that both wrists are facing each other here. So finding that. And then if you're taking your plank, this might be quite a nice option. So using that to give yourself a little bit of mobility, a little bit more strength, building towards your practice. Or there is another one, which is simply rolling up the mat. So you want to create a bit of an angle for your hands. So for example, if we're coming into downward facing dog, take your hands and you want it to have your back of your hands, your palms, onto where the mat is rolled, placing the hands down. So if you push back to downward facing dog, you should notice this nice angle here. So that just again creates that lift in your palms and it takes that pressure completely off your wrists. So yeah, they are the main drills that I would say will help to mobilise and strengthen through the wrists. So yeah, give them a go. Let me know how you're getting on, and yeah, take it easy. Have a nice day. Namaste.